Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, May 10th, 2019. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy joined by Jonah Booker for his usual Friday visit. Jay Book, a lot to get into today. Let's start with true freshmen that are going to play more than 4 games for Ohio State this year. As we all know, with the new rule, as of last year, guys can play 4 games and still redshirt. So let's get into true freshmen who might play more than 4 games. Offensively, who do you think might play more than 4 games as a true freshman for the Buckeyes this year?
Offense, I think you could probably see 3 kids that will play more than 4 games. Obviously, you're going to start with Garrett Wilson, the highly regarded 5-star wide receiver out of Texas. I do believe he's going to be have a nice little role in this offense. He's going to be in a rotation with that group. So I expect him to play pretty much all 12 games as long as he's healthy in the form of special teams as well as being in a wide receiver rotation. Depending on how the backfield shakes out with DeMario McCall's health, I think Marcus Crowley could see some touches and be in the mix because they can't travel on the road with only 2 true running backs. You never know what can happen at that position. So I think he will be there. I also think that he's going to need to cut his teeth a little bit on special teams, but I do believe he will be a guy that's looking for immediate playing time. Looks once he comes into the rotation because I think he is a highly regarded 5-star offensive lineman. Ohio State is not extremely deep at the offensive line position. They've told him to get ready because he has the potential to be in that rotation. By no means do I think he will be a starter, but I think he can be on that 2 deep. And depending on how Ohio State performs against some of the lesser competition, Harry Miller is a guy that could be seeing valuable reps late in football games.
I'm with you 100%, Jay Book. I think Garrett Wilson, Marcus Crowley, Harry Miller, those guys are playing more than 4 games unless they get hurt or something weird happens. But the only other guy that I wrote down as a question mark here, wide receiver Jamison Williams. I kind of have him as like on the fence. If I had to bet, I think he'll redshirt, like play 4 games and redshirt, but you never know, especially with, you had Blue Smith leaving the program, even a walk-on like Garen Prater, who they thought might help out a little bit, like as a third-teamer. He's gone. I'm thinking maybe Jamison Williams could play as a true freshman. What do you think about that?
Is an outside chance potentially. I mean, he is a burner, a speed guy. I think it's going to be contingent on how healthy that wide receiver room stays this year. Obviously, you have some veterans there up at the top that's going to command a lot of playing time, and then there's some younger guys like a Jalen Harris and a Chris Olave, some guys who are really going to want to cut their teeth, and then you also have Jalen Gill that's going to be in the mix there. So he has some talent in front of him. I'm not sure if they're going to be willing to burn a year if they don't need him. Obviously, Brian Hartline commenting, I remember specifically right after the Clemson and Alabama game, he said age is nothing but a number. Talent should always see the field. And if you're to believe what he says, he doesn't care if a guy's a true freshman or a younger kid. If you're talented enough to see the field, he's going to play you.
Defensively, there's not a lot of guys that are true freshmen that are going to play more than 4 games. I've got 2 written down. I wonder if it's the same that you have. Who do you think is going to play as a true freshman more than 4 games defensively?
Yeah, I only have one, and it's the obvious Zach Harrison. I think he's going to be the only one that gets into the rotation. If you look at the history of Larry Johnson, he's had a bevy of 5-star defensive ends that he likes to put in situation football. If you go all the way back to Noah Spence and the Bosa brothers and Washington and then Chase Young, and you just keep going down the line. Anytime he's had a highly regarded pass rushing specialist, he plays those guys, especially on 3rd and long, when they can just pin their ears back and go get after the quarterback. So I think Harrison. Who's the other kid that you have down?
I was gonna say I wanted you to try and guess. Do you want to try and guess who I have? Think linebacker, maybe D end. Ohio, Mr. Football.
I don't have it on. Oh yeah, he could. I mean, but you also think about. I think he would probably see more on the special teams tip because I think Yeah, I think there's a lot of younger talent there in that linebacker room that they feel really high on. Obviously, if he comes in like a man child and he's just absolutely slamming people on their forehead, then he obviously can make a impact and get into that rotation. So it's to be determined. A lot of these freshmen, they come in and they're highly regarded. Wait till the pads come on. They know what they got with the younger guys who's already enrolled, but the kids that are going to be hitting the field come this summer, those are the ones you're going to really see what they're made of once they get hit in their mouth a couple times by some upperclassmen.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Cade Stover, but you're right. I think with it's going to be tough for him to see a lot of time defensively, but I think he will play in more than 4 games just because they want to get him out on special teams. He's an animal. He just is a football player, and I love the kid. We'll see if he's like an outside linebacker or a DN, but I do think he's going to play all over special teams. Switching gears, Jay Book, what are your realistic expectations for Ryan Day in year one?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because obviously Ohio State fans they're always going to have big expectations for the program. Ryan Day, he's stepping in to the position replacing the legend. So and he's a first time head coach. So what are the expectations? I know there will be Ohio State fans that says playoffs or bust, but to me, I think it comes down to two things: is one, beating Michigan, and two, winning the Big Ten championship. You're not looking at an absolutely murderous role. You have the most talented roster in the conference. You have pretty much the most starters returning on defense. Obviously, the defense didn't perform, but you stepped outside of your box, went and hired pretty much an entire new defensive staff, poaching them from Michigan. So I think my expectations for him is beating Michigan, which would be absolutely devastating to that team up north in their program. If Day can come in his first year and take it to Jim Harbaugh, who's pretty much struggled against his big time rivals, and if he can get back to Indy and win a Big Ten championship, I would say that would be a heck of a season and accomplishment for a first year head coach. Obviously, I think Ohio State is not where Clemson or Alabama is at right now. They can't get there. But I think that the thing that really separates Clemson from Ohio State is the staff turnover. Clemson has very little staff turnover. They've had the guys that's been with Dabo for 7 or 8 years. So it's a machine that they're operating on. I do think Ohio State has comparable talent. I would give Clemson the slight edge in the coaching experience there. But I think on that first year, beating Michigan and getting to Indy will be a heck of a feather in the cap for Ryan Day.
So well said. I care. I shouldn't say I don't care what happens on top of that. But, if Ohio State wins the Big Ten championship, they beat Michigan, if they're in the playoffs, we're going to want them to do well. But that's the goal. Beat Michigan, win the Big Ten title. Everything on top of that is gravy for year one. Very well said, Jay Book. Again, switching gears, I hate to even bring this up, but we got to talk about it. Zach Smith was arrested yesterday on Thursday here in the Columbus area, Delaware County. Misdemeanor offense of violation of a protective order. Now, his lawyer says that Zach's ex-wife is at fault. Of course, the lawyers are going to blame, the other parties. The bottom line, as you pointed out to me earlier, when we talked off the air, this is just a mess for the kids. And that's what I feel bad about. Even Zach Smith's lawyer, Jay Book, mentioned he feels bad for the kids. Both parties could have acted better here. Another sad chapter in this book.
Yeah, it's sad, and you hate to see that. Being a father of a young kid, obviously, I know it's tough. Not being able to see your kid on a day-to-day basis, and with them splitting custody and the entire situation, it just makes you sad because you want nothing but the best for those kids. No kid wants to be in a situation where the police are arriving to their school and arresting their parents in front of their peers and their other classmates. So I hope Zach and his wife can find peace and work out whatever issues they have. Obviously, it's a tormented relationship, and both have had trouble history when it comes to the custody of the kids. And and the wife setting him up because he dropped him off in front of the house, and everybody knows the documented history of the issues. So obviously, you wish the kids well. Hopefully, Zach can find peace and he can get his situation worked out. But my main concern and focus would be is just making sure the kids are okay and taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about Earl Bruce's great grandkids, and even if we weren't talking about Earl Bruce's great grandkids, they're just innocent kids, and hopefully, the kids are able to, stay out of the fray here and just are able to grow up and be. I believe it's a boy and a girl, so hopefully they're able to be a good young man and a good young woman. Before I let you go, I know another thing you wanted to talk about. Michigan is currently in South Africa on their latest field trip. They've been to Italy. They went to France last year. Now they're in South Africa. I'll be honest. I've made fun of this. I mean, nothing that those trips all sound great. It's just of all the other things that Jim Harbaugh could be doing. Like winning, he's not doing. He's never been to Indianapolis, but he's been to South Africa now. Is the joke. And but you brought up a good. Ohio State could do both. They could win and take cool trips. Should Ohio State be taking some of these trips abroad? What do you think?
To me, with Michigan, I look at it more as a gimmick. I mean, obviously, it's a tremendous experience for kids. Some of these kids who are on scholarship, they come up with a tough background, and anytime you can expose them culturally to different environments, that's a good thing in that sense. But I do believe that this is more of a recruiting gimmick with Jim Harbaugh to say to other recruits, hey, look at us. We're the only school in the nation that's going to Italy and going to Africa. And, hey, for the kids, get you a free trip out of it and enjoy it and tear up the buffet line. But as far as Ohio State, I don't think this is something that they need to do. Obviously, the brand recruits for himself. They're playing on the big stage. They've been to Indy. They won the Rose Bowl. They've been in the playoffs. So for Ohio State, I don't think this is something they need to follow suit on. Let Jim Harbaugh and his crew go ahead and travel the world while Ohio State is dialed in, getting ready for the season. Obviously, he can do that right now because he still has the backing of the donors and the alumni and the fan base. But I tell you what, there's going to be a lot of people absolutely salty if he try to pull another trip next year and he doesn't beat Ohio State or get to Indy this year. So I think he can get away with it right now. My question is, who in the heck is footing that bill? I mean, packing a private plane, big old jumbo airline, and going all the way to South Africa with 100+ people. I want to know who's footing that bill for them, because I bet you it's going to be a hefty price tag at the end of the day.
There's a lot of rich Michigan donors. Not that there's not a lot of rich Ohio State donors, but there's a lot of rich Michigan donors paying for that stuff, my man. But no, you're right. Good points as always. He is the man. He is Jonah Booker. Really appreciate it, Jay Book. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning in to the show. I appreciate that as well. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.